welcome Abigail Gibbons here, creator of and moderator of the WOW series. I'm so excited to be hosting our next interview as a part of our series with Jenn Saloman. She'll be speaking at our next WOW series event, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be focused on all women in fitness, women in sport, and she's going to be sharing her story to how she is now playing professional rugby for a team in Mexico, the Mexico national team, right, Jenn?
Yes.
Yeah, hell yeah. So she's super badass. I'm so excited to have her here. For everyone who does know and needs a refresher or hasn't joined us before, our interviews, we speak with women who are paving the way forward for the next generation. And we really talk about their career challenges and advice for the next generation. Our goal here is to essentially provide free mentorship, stories that we wish we heard growing up. So I'm so happy to have Jenn here. We're going to dive right into it. And Jenn, I'll pass it off to you to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited. I love what you got going on. And I'm just excited to share my story. So my name is Jenn. I'm from New York, currently live in Connecticut. Rugby has been now in my life for almost a decade, which is so crazy. Growing up, I always loved sports. I loved competing. I loved the teamwork aspect. I loved working hard, training. And then when I went to college, I didn't go for sports. I just went, for academics. I went to Quinnipiac University in Connecticut. And then, one day I was walking in the hallway and I saw a flyer. And it said, join rugby. It was the first year at the time of rugby being NCAA at Quinnipiac. And they had some recruits, but they were just looking for walk-ons. And I, growing up, I always... I'm a big opportunity and risk taker. I love to learn. I love to grow. And I saw it and I was like, all right, this can't be that hard. I was proven wrong very quickly. But I checked it out, tried it out. And since then I've been playing and coaching, and it's pretty much been part of me since 2011, which was my freshman year. Which is so crazy.
Yeah. And what I love about Jenn's story is it's so relatable. And that's why I asked her to speak at our upcoming panel. I really related to her story. And I know so many other young women will as well. As, I competed in college and I swam, and I was at a Division I school, but it was one of those, it wasn't like a Big 10 school or a Big 12 school, So, but it was my life and it's all I knew. And then it was over, and you still want to keep competing and you're not sure what's next. And what I think is really exceptional about Jenn's story is that through kind of you were a founding member of the rugby team at Quinnipiac. I can never say it right. Okay. And then, no, and what's so cool about that is it's what I love about your story, and what I think that a lot of us women can take back when we end our careers, and we might not be good enough to take it to the next level, but what you did for the women who come after you, you started this so that way women can grow up and be like, I want to play Division I rugby, or I'm going to play NCAA rugby. If it weren't for you, it wouldn't even exist. And I think it's cool that I love what you said about opportunity. I'm all about that too. I think growing up as an athlete, you kind of learn you need to take it now or regret it. And so I love that you just kind of took that opportunity and look where it is now. You're a coach now and you're playing professionally and internationally, which is so cool. And what I also love is that you started later, you didn't play this all growing up and you were still able to achieve it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I, going back from starting when I was at Quinnipiac playing, I like to say I played rugby. I wasn't a rugby player, right? Mm-hmm. So I was there for the 4 years. We were terrible. We were a very new team. We were building a program. So we were losing by 100 points. And it was very discouraging, But one year, my coaches, who were so impactful, they kind of were like, hey, we started this motto. They're like, believe. You got to believe. Mm-hmm. You got to believe that you're good, and you got to believe that you're going to get there, right? It's all about the process. And we trained all summer, and then we came back my sophomore year, and then we started winning games. And that kind of was a domino effect. It kind of sparked some belief in us. And we're like, oh, we can actually do this just because we started playing. We're putting in the work. Yeah. We have to act as if. We got to believe in ourselves first, right? If no one believes in ourselves, then how will others truly believe in you?
Exactly.
So Yeah, I was really motivated my 4 years there by the fact that it was the first NCAA full contact sport for women.
Yeah.
And that just drove me. I showed up every day. It drove me to like show up and train hard. The fact that, wow, like that's why I say I played rugby. I wasn't a rugby player because it was so inspiring that I was doing something for the young girls that are playing now. You know, I didn't know about rugby until I went to college. Now there's youth rugby, but you know, these girls come high school, when they're in high school and they're, you know, preparing for college, they can be like, wow, there is an opportunity to go and continue my sport in college at the Division 1 level, through Division 3, and you know, earn a scholarship or be able to have the same resources and support, academic, athletic training support. And you know, you're an athlete that all these other sports have as well at the NCAA level.
Yeah.
That really, really drove me. And then, you know, I went to coaching, and it was my first recruiting class. It was super inspiring because I was like, wow, these are the girls that I was, you know, playing for when I was in college.
Right.
Yeah, it's super cool.
You created that pathway for them, you know?
Yeah. And then there we go. Like, I was recruiting these girls that I was talking about when I didn't even know I was going to go into coaching. So
Exactly. I would love to hear more too, like a little, because I think when we have you speak on our panel, we're going to be talking about like the true detailed, juicy information about how you got from playing in college back into the world of coaching. You also work a corporate job or corporate job too. So all those fabulous pieces. But I think this kind of ties us into our first question that I have for you, which is all about that challenge you had to overcome in the workplace. And for us, and what I love about your story is it really is more than just a workplace challenge. It was kind of, how are you weaving all these pieces of your identity together for sport, and you're an athlete and you're trying to figure out what's next and what's your career path. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about that one.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things, and I love that question because I really look back and I like to say it's about the journey, and I'm like, whoa, like my life's kind of very different where, you know, like you said, there's all these pieces. I think one of my biggest challenges, I will say, to start off as a coach, going into coaching, as a young coach and still playing, that, you know, that it's still, I still have to look in the mirror every day and be honest with myself. Like, did I do better? You know, can I do better? But one of my biggest challenges was the fact that I was still playing, and I was playing at a very elite level. And yes, I want those same standards for my kids. I want to push them, but at the same time, we're at different levels and they're different environments, right? Sometimes I forget to switch that like coach athlete aspect.
Right.
And that's like really, really difficult for me, especially as a competitor, and like have high standards and go.
Yeah.
But it's a really good challenge for me because it only makes me a better coach and communicator and a better teammate myself when I step on the field. That's really, really, you know, I think a lot of people can relate to this if they're, you know, have their hands in different things in your environment, how you're influenced and being able to adapt and adjust to those around you. It's quite the challenge.
Yeah, it's so unique too. And it's such a good point that you are currently competing, but you're also coaching. And it's so true. You have to wear two different hats. Like, you as a competitor is just at an entirely different level than you at the coach is like, you're playing mentor, you're playing a leader, coach, like guiding these women, but then also pushing them, but then also recognizing that like where your mindset is when you're playing is like not necessarily where their mindset is. That's so interesting.
You literally hit it on, like, it's perfect. And that's a really big challenge of mine. And, you know, like I said, I just have to be honest with myself every day and reflect. Did I do this well? Can I do this better? And how can I adjust? So.
Exactly. And I agree with what you said. I think it only makes you better for the other, you know, like the fact that you're still competing, I'm sure keeps like it relatable to you as you're coaching. And then as you're coaching, you're always having a different lens as like when you're competing. So I think I can only imagine like how that helps benefit each other. And I'm dying to ask you too, I've been wanting to ask you since you said this earlier today, do you call yourself a rugby player now?
I love that. Yeah. You know what's funny? I have never been asked that question. And I've And I've said that before, like to people, but I've never actually been asked that. So wow, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because, you know, it's interesting, like rugby is still it's a growing sport here in the US, but it's very popular for a lot of, you know, adults to play.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we'll talk about this more later on, but like, since I've been experiencing my journey to, you know, achieve my goals, yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to become a student of the game, right? And if I'm also preaching it to my athletes, I have to do it.
Yeah.
You know? So studying the game, film, skills every day, you know, training every day, just becoming a full student of the game. And that's super important. So absolutely. Now I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. As you should.
Yeah.
You worked hard. And what I love about your story too, and what I really want to say for our panel, but I want to touch on today, because I think it's important, is your story to getting from someone who plays rugby to being a rugby player is super interesting. And it's not traditional, you know, like you started in college. Most people are peaking at their careers in college. And now you're playing professionally. And there's so many different layers in terms of like I'm 27 and I'm even like, you know, we're told like, oh, you're too old to start something new, or like, you can't be good at this now. And what I love about your story is that you're literally breaking that idea and stereotype that so many of us tell ourselves and that society tells us.
Yes. I love that because, you know, it happens. We're human. Like we, I don't know why, but we put our own limits and barriers on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's insane. And you're right. Like, you know, even when I was 25, I'm 27 as well. So even when I was 25, turning 26, I was like, I'm too old. Like, what's going on? My body, like, I don't think I can do this. Like, etc. Like, I want to play internationally. I want to achieve these goals. I don't know if I can. No, you know, I'm surrounded by so many amazing women in their 30s, mid 30s, still playing and still crushing it. They're rocking it, you know, and that's the same thing. It's like, you know, we need to stop creating those limits and barriers on ourselves and just do. Just take that step forward, and you will be shocked at what opportunities come your way and who's around you to support you. You know, like it's those limits that we put on ourselves that really, really create those doubts and that like haziness of your goal when it used to be clear, you know? So
yeah, I love that. So true, so important. I'm gonna tell myself that now as I'm getting started in my new fitness journey, that you inspired me.
You do it. Seriously, it's you just tell yourself and surround yourself with good vibes, good people, and you can do whatever you want.
I love that. And that brings me yeah, and it's so true. And that's why having a team is so important, you know, like whether you're having your literal physical team as an athlete, your team as like your peers and your friends, your team in the workplace. And like, you know, that's why I created the WOW series, essentially to like create that team for other women like us. But it's so important because that's how you kind of get over these limiting beliefs, and you have that support system around you and just like good vibes, like you said.
100%.
100%. Okay, so let's jump into your advice for the next generation, even for current women, you know, like any professional, that's something that you wish you knew and that you learned from your journey.
Yeah, so I think something that I wish that I knew when I was younger was that your identity comes from who you are, not what you do. Right? So even when you're sacrificing and which you do, you know, to achieve goals and, you know, do what you want, you do need to sacrifice things 100%. You do need to work for them. But just remember to stay true to who you are and your core values. That's huge, right? Don't seek your worth with what you're doing. Like if you're trying to start a business and you fail, that doesn't mean that you're a failure.
Yeah.
Right. And I think as humans, we really hold on to what we do as our identity. And then it hurts, you know, and then we're lost. And, you know, I've been through it where I had a time where I really was motivated by different things than I started. And that really affected me. So yeah, it just be, you know, your worth comes with who you are, not what you do. Stay true to your values, stay true to who you are. And also connection, relationships.
Yes.
Huge. I think, for me, I learn about it more and more every day. And don't be afraid to reach out for help. Don't be afraid to, you met someone and they can give you advice or mentor you. Just reach out. It doesn't hurt, and keep those friendships, connections, family, keep those connections close and really nurture them, because at the end of the day, those are the people that are going to be around you, supporting you no matter what. That's really huge for me. And as people go through their journeys, remember value, connection, and I had one more, but I forgot.
Let me know if you remember.
I will.
Value and connection. No, it's so important. I really like talking with coaches. I just interviewed Tori, who's also going to be speaking. She's a coach at Howard. But I like everything you say is just so spot on. Like you guys just kind of have like, that leader presence and advice. So I always love hearing what you guys have to say and what you're telling your athletes as well. And that's something I wish someone told me too, when I graduated and I was a swimmer and like all I did in my life was sports. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? Like I'm supposed to like not be an athlete anymore?
You've done it all your life.
Like, who am I? And I had nothing to like relate to or identify with. And then I just kind of turned to like my corporate job. And then I was like, but this is like, does not make me happy. Like, I don't want to be a corporate Abby. That's so boring, but I'm not an athlete Abby. So who am I? And
right. Who are you?
Right. And I think like, as we are evolving in our career, knowing that like you are more than your sport. Like you, for example, you are a professional athlete, but you are so much more than that right now too. Of course, you're like a coach and you also work a job, but you're also a mentor to women and all of that. So just kind of recognizing that even as you're competing, you're more than just your sport is so important.
100%. And yeah, I mean, I can go on and on. That's just,
yeah, me too.
It's just so important because that I think it's the Maya Angelou quote. People will forget what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
It is so true in anything that you do. But I do remember the third.
Oh, yes.
I do remember the third. Trust the process. Love the process. Everything, because again, the sacrifices, one thing at a time, one day at a time, right? When you achieve your goal, it's going to be so much sweeter and so much more amazing when you really enjoy the process. Late nights, the ups and downs, blood, tears, sweats. I'm trying to, relate everywhere, but
exactly.
You have to learn to love the process, because loving the process will also continue pushing you forward. When your goal is seen in sight. So you got to love the process.
Exactly.
Everything that you do.
And it might not be easy. And I think what's so important too is whether you're competing, you're an athlete, you're looking to start your own business, whatever it might be, is trusting in the process is so important. And also recognizing that it's going to be hard. Like trusting in the process, even when it's not fun or it's not easy or it's hard, or like you're saying, there's like late nights or there's uncertainty. And I think what's so important too is kind of tuning out what other people may think or say to you, and tuning out that doubt, which can really, get in the way.
Yeah, that's so true. It's just blocking them out, and that's so important. And celebrating small wins.
Yes, exactly. We can get so wrapped up in the end goal, or like, I remember relating back to like my time swimming. It was always like this one time I had to hit. And I totally tuned out of like the other great things that were happening in the process. Like the overall team was getting better. I still made progress, or like we're getting better recruits, or like, and then the same thing happens in my business. It's like, oh my gosh, I need to get here and I need to get here. And then it's easier now that I'm older to pause and remember like, oh my gosh, I had like the best interview with Jenn today. Like that's a victory. That's a win. You know what I mean? Or like we had an awesome conversation that someone else related to. Like all these small things along the way. It's important, to pause and like just be proud of yourself for them and celebrate.
That's right. We got to continue to celebrate. I love it.
Yes, we do. Awesome, Jenn. I'm going to wrap it up with like closing remarks here. We'll talk about our event. But first things first, we all need to see your shirt in case we haven't seen it yet. Strong female lead. I love it.
Strong female lead. We got to surround ourselves by them.
Yes, we do. And on that note, if you need someone like Jenn in your life for the WOW series, definitely feel free to reach out to us. We have our Instagram handles below. I'm really active on it. Jenn is, I know, because that's how I reached out to her. But if you're looking for that strong female lead, or you need to be part of a team, like, we're here for you. Whether you're an athlete, you're just stopped competing, you're trying to figure out what's next, you're a professional trying to figure out what's next, we've all been there, and that's why we've each created our own communities. So I'm so happy that we can bring our networks together and invite everyone else to join us too, and just continue to build up the next generation and create these teams that we need for each other. Jenn, I'll pass it to you. Do you have any closing remarks or anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I just want to say, number one, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here.
Yeah, and for, like you said, just to carry off what you said, anyone reach out. If you have a question, you want to vent, you want to share your story, we all have so many more things in common than we realize. And we can be in different industries, different journeys, but there's something that we can always learn from each other, and like you said, the teamwork, you achieve things, but you can't achieve them alone all the time. You have to have the team behind you. So yeah, reach out. I'd be more than happy to have a chat.
Yes, I love that. I love what you said too, is like, we can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
And that's why I started this. And we can get so wrapped up in our little bubbles, and it's like so important to just see, like, through every conversation you can learn something.